Hi. First time trying to video from the new car, so I'm not sure how it's working. And it's an absolutely dismal day. It's been raining on and off. Nothing serious, but enough to just be gray and dark and gloomy. But aside from that, it's a great day. I wanted to let you know what was happening on the medical front because I did have my appointments. I did have my CAT scan done the other day, which I mentioned that I was going to have it in the last video, but I did have it the other day. And I also had my 2 meetings with the 2 doctors, with the medical oncologist and with the surgical oncologist. I felt for a little while as if they were tossing the ball up in the air and I was the ball, and nobody seemed to want to catch it or deal with it. So I know that my surgeon is not necessarily thrilled at the thought of doing the surgery this time because they've kind of used up all of the options for local transfer of skin to cover the wound when they take out the tumor. The last time when they put me back together, I wound up having this area of hanging flesh because it was so tight in the area where it was that everything over it sort of hung over. It's really attractive. But anyway, I had, that is not an option anymore. So they would have to graft skin from my left leg. They have to do, I guess, microsurgery at that point, and they've got to check it out. They have to make sure that my circulation is good so that it'll take and that I won't have any issues from that. So the other option was to deal with it medically. Now, I love the medical oncologist. He is a world-renowned physician, and he is a lovely man. So it's a terrific combination that you don't always find. So he was saying that, and he tends to be really open and honest about things, whereas many physicians won't give you a straight answer if you ask them a straight question, like what would you do in a given circumstances, a set of circumstances. So he told me that there were 2 options for me, and one of them would be chemo, but he's got to do a kind of chemo that would not, as he said, not knock me out, so that I could function during that period of time, and that might have some kind of efficacy, although for this kind of tumor, the odds are not great. They're really not great. The second option is immunotherapy. And he said for that, I would be going for an infusion once every few weeks. It's about an hour infusion at a time. And I could hopefully function during that time because I still have to work. And I said, unfortunately, while I deal with disease, you still have to deal with life. So it makes it a little bit complex. When I spoke to him yesterday, he told me what the options were, that we could do this chemo, and he had suggested a different chemo last time, one in which I guess I would have a port, and then I would go in again once every 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. But he did say that there were a lot more side effects. He told me that I could have this other kind of chemotherapy where I could do it at home and they just give you pills to take. That presents another issue for me, because due to a very early, terrible allergic reaction I had as a child, I developed a pocket in my throat. It's right about here. And they don't call it a pocket, of course, and I can't think of the term for it, but I did have a test done and it showed that it's there. I can't take big pills. I can't swallow them. They get stuck in the pocket sometimes, and it's terrifying because I feel like I'm choking to death. So he did say to me that there are pharmacies that can compound these things and they can make it into something that I could take. That sounds just wonderful. So then I guess after thinking about it, he said that maybe the immunotherapy would be the better option. So I said to him at that point, what are the odds? And he said, in this kind of a case, maybe 10 to 15% that it would help. And he said it doesn't usually shrink the tumor, but it may be able to keep it from growing. Okay, so that was in the morning. Then I had a telemedicine appointment with the surgeon later in the afternoon. And when I spoke to her, she said, okay, you had the CAT scan and it showed that the tumor has grown. It was the time before, I don't have the exact dimensions here, but let's say, for example, it was 3.6 centimeters by 3.2. And now it's 5.3 by 3.3. So on one side it grew a tiny bit, the other way it grew more. It's still small, relatively small, but it's, not tiny, and it's growing. And she said to me, but it's almost doubled in volume. So she said the thing is to either do a surgery, which they're not so anxious to do, and she needs to talk to the plastic surgeon because his part of the surgery will be more involved and longer than hers. So they're going to discuss that and discuss whether or not to do it. Nobody seems anxious to do it. I get it. If you're not sure that the results are going to be great, who wants to go in with that kind of thing? But she did say to me, she recommended that I start something with the medical oncologist because it's better to do something. She said if it doesn't do anything, it doesn't matter because we'll be planning for surgery anyway. But if it does, it might give me more time to do the surgery so that I can take care of the things in my life that I need to do to make my life stable, so that if I get past the surgery and do have an existence, that it can be something meaningful and something I can work with. So that's how it stands from that point of view. So what she said made sense to me, and I said, okay, I think that is probably a good idea. So they're talking. She's going to talk to the plastic surgeon, and I love the plastic surgeon too. He's wonderful. No sense of humor whatsoever, because the first time he was there for my surgery, I said, while you're in there, can you make me look beautiful? And he said, no. I think that was really unkind. He should have faked it at the very least. So that's the story as it stands now. I don't know anything more yet. But again, as I say, I'm not feeling like this is horrific. Thank God there's no metastasis. Thank God it's in the same site that it's always been. And I'm doing the best that I can. It's interesting too, because after I put out the last video, I started thinking a little bit, because in the comments, there was some talk about my past videos and my past experience with the channel. And I really have loved it. But I started to think back to when I was a very little girl, because this all started for me when I was a very little girl. I've told this story before, but unless you've been with me since the beginning and you have an incredible memory, you probably won't remember this. I had an Uncle Harry, my father's brother, who was my personal Santa. He absolutely loved me just because. I didn't have to do anything special. I didn't have to be anything special. He just loved me. And that's a gift. Unfortunately, he died when I was 6.5. And I was devastated when he died. And I remember lying in the bed with my feet up on the wall and talking to God and saying that I want to do something. 6 years old. I don't want anybody else to ever feel the pain that I feel. I want to make it better. And this crazy journey down YouTube lane has, in some very, very small way, allowed me to help somebody along the way, because there have been people who have said that it's made a difference for them, and something that I said has resonated, and that's a gift. It's a gift for me, far more than for anybody else out there. So I'm grateful for it. Here I am, I'm back, and I will talk to you next time. Next time I want to do the video in my car and tell you a little bit about it and the story of why I got this car rather than anything else at this stage of my life. So I'm going to talk to you very soon, and that is my story. See you next time. Love you.